Welcome back to PHAE'S PLACE, a podcast where dreamers have the liberty to dream. I'm your host, Phaedra, and I am so excited that we have this time to dream together. There's so much that goes into a film that one may not realize while watching it, like the music, for instance. Today we're talking with the person who's out here crafting entire moods through sound, from assistant gospel artists to working with brand partnerships to music moguls and scoring films. Madison Anglin is here at PHAE'S PLACE. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm like floored right now. I'm like, oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You're welcome. Now take us back to your 5-year-old self growing up in California. What did that little girl dream of becoming?
Well, I'll tell you, it didn't have anything to do with music.
What?
Yeah, I went through a couple of phases for sure. I think my first dream job was to be an engineer. I wanted to design roller coasters.
Yes. Now we need a Madison Anglin theme park. We need that now.
I mean, I just feel like designing roller coasters sounds like the coolest job for a kid.
I love that. That is so cool. Now, I want to tell our listening audience that we met through Belmont.
Yeah.
We were roomies, and our birthdays are a couple of days apart. So shout out to all the August babies out there. Leo. How do you think Belmont has impacted your career now?
Definitely a lot, for sure. I'm a firm believer in that everything that is for you will come to you. So thinking back on it now, it's very clear that Belmont was always in God's plan for me. So I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity to go into Belmont for my undergraduate years. Before Belmont, actually, I ended up touring Vanderbilt. I didn't know Belmont even existed before going to campus and touring. When I was in high school, I went to Performing Arts High School in Dallas, Texas, called Booker T. Washington. And so when you're a senior, you have a showcase to show all the recruiters of different art colleges what you can do. And so I originally was recruited to Vanderbilt. And that's what brought me to Nashville in the first place. We're just like, okay, we're going to start going on the college tours like one does, see what may feel like it's going to be a good fit. And so we went to Nashville for a couple of days, me and my parents. We did a tour of the campus. And I just remember it feeling like, which it is, it's feeling like the Ivy League of the South, you know? It's kind of like we're all the 1% and 2%ers of all their high schools, go. So, but of course I was very much interested in that. I applied and did my audition and all those things. But while we were in Nashville, of course, we heard about Belmont because it's literally across the street from Vanderbilt. And so my parents were like, oh, well, we've made the trip out here. We might as well tour this other college while we're here. When I was touring Belmont and getting to be on the campus, obviously the campus is gorgeous. So that was already something that was tying me in. And it's, more of a liberal arts college, but still has all these other colleges that are still expanding to this day, like the law school and med school and all that. Yeah, there were just so many things that really appealed to me about Belmont that I didn't really get a sense of when I was at Vanderbilt, like the sense of community and the opportunities for growth and just for traveling as well. I knew that Belmont had a lot of short-term study abroad programs, which I was also very interested in while I was still in high school. So I knew that was something that I really wanted. And yeah, I think Belmont essentially just felt like a really good fit. And luckily, a few months after senior year, I think you kind of know sometimes before you graduate. So a few months before graduating, I found out I got accepted into Belmont and it was perfect.
Yes, I am so excited that you went to Belmont because I got a chance to meet you. Yeah. And it's just amazing, especially for people who really want to pursue music or the performing arts. It's
definitely. To be in Nashville, to be in Music City.
But I must say, girl, you are big time. When I Google your name, the suggestion comes up, Madison Anglin, composer. I say, yes, that's her.
Oh my gosh.
That's her. I know that film scoring has been a dream of yours for a while, and I love watching you live that out. Actually, when Angie Winans was on the show, I actually got a chance to tell her about you.
Oh my
And because she's interested in film scoring as well, tell the listening audience exactly what film scoring is and let us know your day-to-day schedule. I know no day seems the same, but
Right. This is just kind of like in my own view of it before I even really got into a love for film, but I kind of like to consider film composers like the underdogs of film, right? They bring in so much emotion, so much drive to the story. You just sometimes don't even really notice is there if you're not, not aware. Like before I even got really into school, I didn't know that writing music for film and TV was even a job. Essentially, a film composer's job is to collaborate with the filmmaker, director, and then in some cases, the producers, the picture editors, the high-ups of creating the film to create a musical soundscape that really blends in with the story and shapes the mood and helps build up a character, build up scenes, shift the audience one way or another. It's honestly such an amazing way to be able to say you can tell stories through writing music. It's sometimes the difference between a moment in a film scaring you or not, or making you cry or not, or laugh.
take us through your daily task.
Well, it can definitely depend on the type of project that I'm working on. If I am working on, let's say, a narrative film, which are some of my favorite projects to work on, it can really depend on the point of which you're brought into the story of the project. So in most cases, a composer is brought on towards the end of production, so post-production. How that looks is we're going to be having a spotting session. If I'm starting a brand new project, we get everything laid out and we have a spotting session with the director and sometimes also the producer. Basically go through the entire film and spot or map out where music should and shouldn't be, because knowing where music isn't is just as important as knowing where music is. And within that session, you'll kind of talk about, okay, within minute blah 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 to blah blah blah, we're wanting this to really enhance the scene in this way, or to really emphasize the characters whatever in this moment. And then in some cases, a lot of directors or producers or editors or music editors will have temp music placed in, which basically means temporary music that an editor has placed in before bringing on a composer to create original music, especially when you don't necessarily have the budget to license a certain song or score or piece of music. And sometimes that can be a little tricky because there's this thing in the industry called temp love, where you just keep hearing it over and over again. So anything else outside of that, it's hard to change their minds about wanting what they originally placed in. So that can be interesting part of the process, but sometimes it can be fun because it can give you inspiration, it can set you on the right path, and sometimes it's really fun when you can hear the temp music and be like, oh, okay, I definitely hear what they were going for, but I know I can make it better, so let's take this and really use this to dig in. And sometimes having temp music can help speed up the process because you're not starting from scratch. You can tell exactly what it is that they're looking for. Music is just so broad, and sometimes it can be really difficult when you're working with a director that may not know what they want. You kind of have to go back to the drawing board a few times, which can be fine if you have the time, but sometimes in the film industry, you don't have that time. Yes, can definitely be a fan of temp music. So yes, that's essentially what happens. You have your spotting session, you go through where music should and shouldn't be, and then you get to writing. As you are scoring each and every cue, you're mapping out the scenes. Sometimes I'll start with a tempo, so just like what the pace of the film or the scene should be, and kind of filling in the blanks from there based on whatever notes I was given of what the music in the scene is supposed to be doing. And then from there, I'd obviously send it over, get reviewed. It either gets approved or you get notes for revisions. You give it another try until you're both on the same page, and you kind of just keep repeating that process until you get to the very end. And essentially that is what it looks like on the day-to-day when I am working on a project.
That is such a cool job. You often talk about this work being so collaborative, and you actually enjoy that process of being collaborative. Why do you feel that you enjoy it? What is it about working with others that is so intriguing?
Absolutely. Well, hear me out. I mean, even just like at the base of it, taking it out of like the arts and the industries, humans, as just humans, we're meant to be in connection with people. We're meant to be in relationship with people, right? Sometimes as a composer, you can really just be in your own bubble the whole time and just kind of grinding and working away. And, it's not like you're always at an office where you can interact with other people. So sometimes it can be isolating, which is why I think when you get the opportunities to collaborate, it really just feels a lot more special, and you really don't take it for granted. But also for me personally, I find so much joy in collaborating with others because it opens up a safe space for me to explore and for me to take from others and vice versa, and to really just kind of like expand my horizons, because I know other people's perspectives in any way, shape, or form, but especially for music, is going to be completely different from mine. For example, a good friend of mine who I went to NYU with, his name is Joss. He's also a brilliant music composer. Before we finished school, we co-composed a documentary together. And so I'd never done that before. So I was like, oh, this is going to be so fun. We were scoring an investigative documentary. And so the director had given us like detective audio, like sounds from like kind of sounding like it's from a radio or something like that. And so Joss basically took that detective audio and rewired it, sampled it into instruments that we were able to use in the score.
Wow.
So like just that's kind of like a easy, plain and simple reason why I like to say that collaborating is amazing, because I would have never really thought to do that,
Right.
Off the whim, especially when we had like 1 week to write 30 minutes of music. I'm just like trying to get it done, but just getting little pieces and nuggets from other people, and it's like, okay, well, now this is a trick I know I can take with me in other future projects.
How do you deal with feedback and rejection, or someone not liking your idea and you think it's the greatest idea and they're like, not for this one?
No, I love this question. I think it can be very contradictory, but like, obviously this is just my take on things. For me, I've definitely grown to, okay, hear me out. Of course, rejection can be hard for anyone, especially when it's kind of connected to like you and your work. But as a believer in God, I truly believe that rejection, it could be either two things. I think rejection is either redirection or protection. And going back to what I said earlier about thinking that, everything that is for you will be for you. If I don't get something, that means it wasn't meant for me. And I'm glad that I'm not doing something that God didn't originally have planned for me, whether that was because of the right timing or everything else connected to the project, or just maybe the fact that there was someone else better fitted for the project. At the end of the day, if I don't get something, I still want to see that project succeed. And I still want to see that other composer, that other artist get that opportunity. It doesn't really have, of course it's a competitive industry, but I don't have the space or the capacity to operate in that way. That's just me. Not everyone's going to have that opinion, but that's kind of how I see rejection when it comes to like losing gigs or things like that. Now, when it comes to getting notes back or when people don't like my feedback, I also try to embrace that. I try to look at it as a challenge, because at the end of the day, sometimes as a composer, you most likely started out playing an instrument or being an artist. No, you know what? At the end of the day, when you take the seat of a film composer, you're kind of like in the service industry. You're providing a service for somebody. It's not about the big swells that I want to have heard in the scene. Like, if I want to let my voice be heard in a specific way, I'll make a piece separately, or I'll focus on that if I get like a commission for something. There's a place for those ideas to like fully shine exactly the way that you want to. But when you're writing music for somebody else, it's about what they want. And so of course, it can be difficult when you continue to have multiple revisions, but I think that's also the importance of having a good relationship with your director and your producers to really get on the same page and figure out, okay, so what is it about this that you did or didn't like? Or do you have a playlist that, kind of represents what it is that you're going after, so that I can really do my best to dive into that.
I love that perspective. That is so mature, Madison.
Easier said than done, okay?
Clock that. You ate that. No, that was really, really good. Speaking of commission, you were commissioned to write a brass quintet with backing track accompaniment by the Chromatic Brass Collective, and you were their first New Works Consortium composer?
Yes.
Tell us about that experience. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that was like my first concert commission I've had. I think I actually got that opportunity right before I graduated school. That was amazing, because that was truly like one of the first professional opportunities where they were like, okay, do whatever you want to do. It was kind of like, okay, I'm the one in the driver's seat. So that was a really great opportunity. And I also found it a little bit of a challenge, which I love because I don't necessarily gravitate towards brass instruments. This was a challenge that was given to me to, one, I wanted to write something that was going to be fun to listen to, but also fun to play. Like I'm given an opportunity to write music for all these instruments that I have no idea how to play, right? And so that's where orchestration really comes into play and just doing some experimenting, but essentially I want to write something that other people have fun playing. It was a really fun way for me to dive into that, just, adding other elements into the piece that I wanted to, which is kind of where the backing track comes into. If you want other elements outside of the brass instruments, that's okay. But for me, the brass quintet was really the main focal point of the piece, and that was performed at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, which was also a super exciting performance as well. Just, getting to hear your music performed live in a beautiful hall was so amazing.
Do you have an idea for a business, but bringing it to fruition seems so overwhelming? Look no further. Embolden Consulting is a strategy and creative consulting agency that turns bold ideas into thriving ventures. When rebranding my podcast PHAE'S Place, I needed direction and someone who gets it, who gets me. I tried Embolden Consulting and was not disappointed. The results I received showed that there was close attention to detail and gave me insight of what I needed to make my business work. You have the vision. Let Embolden Consulting help you execute the dream. Their services include strategic messaging and branding development, operational strategy, project management, and marketing campaign design. Email Jody Iyamu at emboldenconsulting.com. That's JODIIYAMU at emboldenconsulting.com to set up your consultation today. Use the code PHAE'S PLACE to receive a free consultation. Going back to your commission project for the San Francisco Conservatory, what lessons did you learn?
I learned to be pretty adaptable in a different type of way. Right? Because when you're writing music for film, unless you have the budget to record, you're usually just kind of submitting everything on your own, and everything's just kind of like living in like a 2D dimensional space. Whereas concert work, it's like, no, it's going to be performed live. You just kind of have to think very differently about how things come across and how the music is prepared. And I live in Los Angeles, but I knew that this performance was in San Francisco. So I was like, you know what? I think it's close enough for me to try and go. I learned very early on, like whenever you can go to like a screening or performance of your music, it's always great to do so. Making sure that you're able to be at the rehearsals whenever you can, because you're really the only one that knows the heart of what it is that you're trying to tell through your music. Just being able to have your voice being heard when it's not just you in control of it, right? It's like in the hands of others. Sometimes musicians may have notes about certain lines or rhythms that you wrote, and you want to make sure that they feel confident before going into a performance as much as possible.
We know that you play the piano, but you don't play a lot of other instruments. How is it writing for instruments that you do not play?
I think just like anything else, practice makes, I don't like to say perfect, I like to say progress. The more you do it, the more sessions you have, the more time you're able to put music in front of real people, the more you're able to learn. I think I remember this in grad school, just kind of like whenever you're getting ready to do a session and you're going over your music, or if it's a certain, instrument like the cello or the violin, place your hand placement where it would be and like see how it would feel in the fingers. Or if you're not able to do that, like ask a friend who does play that instrument, be like, hey, how does this feel? Because it's one thing to know the ranges, of course, of how high or low a note can hit, but when you're trying to write a lot more complicated music, and of course that depends on maybe the level of the player, right? So you want to know the type of ensemble that you're writing for, so that you're writing music that's most appropriate. And so I definitely find that can be an interesting tightrope to walk on, to make sure you're pleasing yourself for what you want to write, but also making sure you get the best performance possible by making sure you're writing something that's very playable.
What projects thus far has stood out to you, and why?
I feel like every project that I've been a part of, I've been blessed to be a part of, especially when it comes to documentaries, because those are real stories. Like those are real life people that are getting in front of the camera and telling their story. The same concept can be told in narrative stories and when you're kind of dramatizing things. Actually, going back to that documentary that I mentioned where I co-composed and we were working on an investigative documentary, that was a story about three men that had been convicted of crimes that they did not commit at the age of 16
Oh my goodness.
and were sent to Rikers.
Wow.
Just working on that and hearing their stories and listening to their voices and seeing them on screen, it's like I'm trying to write this music and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this could be my dad, this could be my uncle or my cousin or someone. So stories like that have definitely left a lasting impression on me. I know that there's definitely plenty of other stories, but just for the sake of time, definitely documentaries.
I love a good documentary. It's so good. You have had opportunity to be part of great internships and programs. How did you get involved with them?
When I was attending New York University for graduate school, specifically for film scoring, that was when I learned about the Television Academy internship run by the Television Academy Foundation. So I learned about that through my professor, Catherine Joy. So that's how I found out about that one. When I was younger, I did the Interlochen Summer Camp for the Arts, the songwriting program. Pretty sure my mom found that. She was always looking for like little things and opportunities that we otherwise might not know about. So shout out to her for always teaching me to be resourceful. Yeah, I think I even did like a musical theater camp when I was younger. At Rider University. The first year I moved to Los Angeles, I was able to do the Los Angeles Film Conducting Intensive, which was incredible. I got to write a piece of music and have it recorded live while I conducted the Hollywood Studio Symphony. So that's pretty incredible just to say that I even had the opportunity to do. And those definitely came because I had taken the time in the very beginning of just learning and going through all my classes to understand the process of writing for orchestra. You know, you do have to kind of like submit your work and show that you know how to write for all of these instruments and that you have an eye for certain things. I'm very grateful for all of those programs because I'm still young. I haven't necessarily scored like a studio film or project, but I'm grateful for these programs that I've been able to do because in a way, they're kind of like my own training wheels of being able to really put my skills to the test without actually having big deadlines to get in order. So definitely great ways of like midpoint ways of being able to just put my art to the test. And then my other favorite program that I've done is the VIF CFA program, which stands for the Vancouver International Film Festival Composer Filmmaker Accelerator Program. It's such a long title, but if any composers end up listening to this podcast, I definitely encourage them to apply to this program. We were able to work with a filmmaker and have a cue of their film scored by us, but also recorded and performed live, a part of the Vancouver International Film Festival.
You inspire me by doing these internships and programs because, I mean, you know, some stuff you don't realize is attainable for you until you see other people to do it. Like, I mean, who would have thought to do like an intensive? I just wouldn't think about that. So I thank you for just continue to be a light. You are an African American young woman, and we are talking about film scoring. So how do you stay motivated when you are the only one that looks like you? Because it's hard. People try to act like, oh, it doesn't matter, but representation literally matters.
100%. And even other, women of color are going to have a completely different story and way of going about things. But I think for me, I try to use it as a driving force. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to take that as a challenge because I do think that we were put on this earth for something bigger than just ourselves. I don't want to be a self-serving person or art. Like, of course, I want to have more opportunities that lead to doing amazing projects. I also want to be able to use it as a platform to show other young women of color that there are spaces for you like this, that these jobs do exist and that your voice is wanted and that it is needed. Looking up to and looking back on other women that have paved the way, like Florence Price. Taking the time to because at this point there are definitely a few and a good amount of younger and older women of color that have really begun to pave the way in the film industry, film scoring. I really admire Shonda Dancy. Definitely look her up. She's amazing, as well as Amanda Jones. Oh my gosh. So there's definitely just like looking up to other women that are in spaces that I want to eventually be in, and just using that as motivation and inspiration.
Now that you are in this field, what is the most surprising fact that you encountered that you didn't initially account for when you thought about having a career as a composer? Whether it's good or bad.
Yeah. Because, I'm going to keep it real.
Yes, please.
Probably just how crazy it can be. Even when you are working with or for air quotes higher up people and projects, like still just how it's not always a well-oiled machine. Of course it has to be right from the beginning, but sometimes like crazy last minute things and changes have to happen, and you being able to get that done can be the difference of keeping your job or not.
Have you listened to, whether it's a show or a movie recently, and you pay more attention to like the music now? What show or movie has good music in it?
Oh my gosh. The first thing that comes to mind is Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, okay.
I really love that score just because it really kind of pays homage to like more traditional music and classical, but still with a modern flair that serves the picture for that show. That show is scored by Siddhartha Khosla, and I was able to meet him not too long ago and ask him about that score, which was really amazing. It just feels like a musical show, even if there's not necessarily music in that scene. I love being very drawn in. Sometimes score nowadays can just be a little bit more muted, like just tone underscore, very chill. The Only Murders in the Building score is a little bit more in your face, and it's bouncy and it's flourishing, and I really appreciate that.
Do you find yourself paying more attention to the music in films, or can you still just look at a film or television, don't pay attention to it?
I definitely can like put something on and just like get immersed and not even really know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I learned this in school, but like honestly, when you're watching something and you go a long time without noticing that there was score there, that means that the composer really did a good job.
Right.
Because it is supposed to be something that feels ingrained into the DNA of the film or the show. Like sometimes if something really sticks out and it takes you out of the moment, that was something that clearly needed to be addressed, because it's not right. It's not necessarily about the music. It's about the story. It's about the characters. It's about the plot and all those things. There's definitely, movies that you most likely really tie to the score itself. And that's great too.
So I love that you are a well-rounded individual. I know we've been talking about your musicality, but that's not the only way you express your creativity. You have a passion for fashion.
Oh my God.
How would you describe your style?
Oh, that's so funny. I don't know if I have a specific way that I would go about describing my style. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very much with like street style and getting inspiration from Pinterest, of course. I'm always down to look into like the latest trends and red carpet looks. I just get so excited about fashion in general, and just how that is a way that you can express yourself. And I don't know, as a woman, I feel like dressing confidently for yourself and for who you are and how you want to express yourself is, I don't know, a really beautiful and a necessary thing, especially these days. I always say that when I'm going out somewhere and I'm going to an event and maybe I'm wearing something that I haven't worn before, I always go for how I feel in something versus how something looks.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's why I say I don't know if I necessarily would say I have a style, but it's, of course I do, but like specifically just describing like what I gravitate towards, most importantly, it's always going to be what I feel the best in, because when you look good, you feel good, you show up as your best self.
Agreed. Hi friends, it's Phaedra, and you are listening to PHAE'S Place. Join us each week as we talk to industry insiders about their journey and what it takes to turn dreams into a reality. Whether you aspire to be in the entertainment field or just inspired by the hustle, count this as your backstage pass. Join us every Monday for a brand new episode. And also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at PHAE'S Place. So what are you currently dreaming up? Whether that's professionally, personally.
It's funny that you mentioned fashion. I had a wonderful opportunity to visit Europe with my mom a couple months ago, and we ended up being in Italy during Milan Fashion Week. And so
wow,
that was amazing to just kind of be in that environment and
yes,
see all the beautiful looks and designs. So definitely something on my bucket list would be to write music for a designer, for a fashion show, for, you know what I mean? Like, fashion shows need music.
I love that. Let's get it done. Who do we have to call?
No, really, like that is something that I'm currently dreaming up, especially just in the sense of like trying to be as innovative as possible. I love the idea of writing music for film and TV, and it's what I've gone to school for. But like you said, I also know that I have other passions, and there's so many other ways that creativity and art and music and fashion can coexist. And I'm really looking forward to going into this next year, really carving that out and seeing how that can look.
So if people want to stay in contact with you, where can they go and listen to your wonderful projects?
My Instagram is an easy way to like contact me. My website, which is currently under construction, we'll be putting a pin in that and circling back around. But for right now, I would say social media is the easiest way to get in contact with me. And for directors and other people that I want to share my music with, I'm always available to kind of send a more curated playlist for like what you may be looking for, and just like my previous work and all of that.
Well, thank you, Madison, for stopping by PHAE'S Place. Of course, I'm still one of your biggest fans, and I'm excited to see all that God has in store for you. And I know you will achieve all of your dreams.
Thank you so much, Phaedra, and thank you for having me on here, and just for everything that you're doing with your show and allowing other people's voices to be heard. Like, that is something that I'm so grateful for. I know that everybody else is grateful for. So thank you, and thank you to you as well.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, join us next Monday where we will have a brand new episode just for you. I love you all for listening. This podcast episode was recorded with Riverside.